Hey everyone, welcome back to the JavaScript course. So inside this video, we'll be exploring about the JavaScript for loop. And if you find this interesting, let's get started right away. So in this video, we'll be looking into the JavaScript for loop. So inside my VS Code, I've opened up my index.html file, my style.css file, as well as my script.js file. So there is some basic boilerplate code inside my index file and some basic styling given to my style.css file and a basic console.log text inside my script file. Okay. So now let's start exploring about the for loop inside of JavaScript. So when exactly are loops used? Okay. So basically loops are used if we want to repeat some kind of code. Okay. So let's say we want to print a text, like let's say 100 times the same text. So for that reason we can make use of the for loop or any kind of loop that we have. So firstly we'll be looking into the for loop. So the first thing is to look into the syntax of it. Okay, so let's say for loop syntax. Okay, so it's gonna be for, we're gonna write the for word, and then the first thing we're gonna do is initialization, right? So initialization. So after initialization we're going to apply some condition to that. Okay, so this is the second thing that is inside the for loop. So after the condition we are going to increment the value that we did in the initialization. So let's say we have I equals to 0. Over here we'll be doing I plus plus, so that value becomes to 1. Okay, so this is the increment, and I think that's it inside the for loop. And over here we're going to say code to be executed. Okay, so based on this condition, whatever is there, that is the initialization condition and increment, the code is going to get executed. Okay, so the first thing we have is the initialization that we do, and the second one is the condition. So let's say if the condition becomes false, it is automatically going out of the for loop. If the condition is true, it is going to execute until and unless the condition becomes false again. Okay, so that's the basic syntax of the for loop. So first let's write a basic for loop to print numbers from 1 to 10 or from 1 to 5. Okay, so let's write for. So as I told, the first one is going to be the initialization. So let's say let I equals to 0. So that's the way we initialize the value, and we want to print the numbers from 1 to 5. Okay, so we put a semicolon. So the next thing we have in the syntax is going to be the condition, right? So the condition is going to be I should be less than 6. Okay, or should be greater than, should be less than or equal to 5, and then we increment the value. That's the last step, that is to increment. So let's open up the braces, and then we're going to say console.log I value. Okay, so let's see how exactly the loop works. So let's comment that out. So the first thing it works is, so let's say for let I equals to 0, I is less than or equal to 5, I plus plus. So the condition is of course true. So so I value is 0. So 0 is less than or equal to 5. Let's keep it as 1. Okay, so we're going to print that out. So console.log of I. So at that particular time I value is going to be 1. So 1 is printed in the console. Okay, so after that this is going to get incremented. So I value is going to become 2, right? So now I equals to 2, and we're gonna check if 2 is less than or equal to 5. Yes, it is true. So we're gonna print 2. Okay, so similarly I becomes 3, and then 4, and then I becomes 5. It's gonna check this condition, that is I is less than or equal to 5. Yes, it is true. So we're gonna print 5 into the console. Okay, then after 5 is printed, this is gonna work, that is I plus plus. So I becomes 6. So let I equals to 6. If I is less than or equal to 6, so 6 is less than or equal to 5, that condition is false. So automatically that will come out of the loop. Okay, so then we're going to show 1 2 3 4 5 inside the console. So let's check that out once. So save the file. Yeah, so there you go, we are seeing 1 2 3 4 5 getting printed in the console. So now let's print let's say print a text message 10 times with the for loop. Okay, so let's initialize some value. So let's say for let I equals to 0, I is less than or equal to 10, and then I plus plus. Okay, so let's say console.log let's say this is a text message. Okay, so save the file once. So similarly, this is basically similar to the first for loop. So instead of logging the value, we are just displaying this text message. Okay, so this is going to get printed 10 times because this loop is going to run from 0 to 10 times. And when the loop reaches the 11th time, the condition is going to break because 11 is less than or equal to 10. That is false. So it automatically comes out of the for loop, and we're going to see the text coming 10 times. Okay, so save the file once and then come back to the console. Yeah, so it's getting printed. It's going to print 11 times. Okay, because we have put I equals to 0. Okay, so let's save the file. Let's start it from 1 to 10. Yeah, so there you go. It's getting printed 10 times in the console. Okay, so now let's initialize the array and then let's try to print the content of the array with the help of the for loop. Okay, so let's write that out one. So print the contents of an array using the for loop. Okay, so let's say const array values equals to, let's initialize the array and let's put in some random words. Okay, so let's put laptop, then books, cars, food, movies, and then technology. Let's give a news. Yeah, and then travel. Okay, yeah, so we have pretty much some values inside our array values. Okay, so we need to print all these values with the help of the for loop. Okay, so let's write in the for loop once. So let's say for, so the first thing we need is of course the initialization. So let's say for let I equals to 0, that's going to be the same. Okay, now we need to run this loop how many times? Okay, we need to run this loop to the number of times that is basically the length of the array. So let's say we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8. So okay, so we need to run this loop 8 times. So for that reason, let us initialize a value over here which says const array length. It's gonna be array values.length, that is a built-in method. So over here we're going to say for I is less than or equal to array length, and then over here we're going to increment the value. Okay, so this is the basic syntax. Now inside the code block we're going to say console.log. We're going to access the array values, array values, not array length, and we're going to access the ith index of each and every time the loop is going to run. Okay, yeah, so now let's see how exactly the code runs. So first let I equals to 0. So now I value is 0, then I is less than array length. Okay, so of course array length is going to be 8, so 0 is less than 8. So we're going to log array values of 0. Okay, so it's going to access the first index, so of course laptop is going to get printed. Okay, so the next time this runs, I is going to become 1. So 1 in the sense it's going to access the value at the first index, that is going to be books. So over here books gets printed in the console. Similarly at the next index, that is 2, we see the cars getting printed, and then similarly at the third index food is printed. Okay, because after incrementing the value 2 to 3. Okay, so next one after food we have movies getting printed in the console, that is at array number 4, 0 1 2 3 4, and at array number 5 we have the technology coming up. Okay, so after technology we have the news, and then we have the travel as well. So travel is present at 7th one. So 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, so now after printing the 7th index, this is going to run, that is I plus plus. So the value is going to become 8. So again this condition is going to get checked. So for I equals to 8, I is less than array.length. So array length is 8. So 8 is less than 8. That condition is going to be false. Okay, so it's going to get terminated out of the for loop, and we're going to print these values, that is from laptop to travel. Okay, so let's give this a try and then let's check out the console. So save the file once. Yeah, and there we are printing each and every values inside the array, that is laptop, books to travel. Okay, so I think that's it about the basics of the for loop, that is to print the numbers, and this is about the syntax. I think let's see you in the next video, and then thank you for watching.